All right, everyone, welcome back to the Smash Property Podcast. I'm Nick V, and this is Akira, and today we are going to do something a little different.
Yes.
This is going to be
flipping the script.
Flipping the script. You're going to take the lead. We've got some Q&A questions to go through that have been submitted from the audience, people that we know, LinkedIn, Instagram. People have sent through some of their questions.
Yes.
You've got some as well that you're going to go through. But first and foremost, we are in a pretty cool location. You might have seen our vlog over the past couple of days. We are out here in Thailand.
Yes.
And it is a beautiful spot. What do you reckon?
Stunning. Yeah, it's so relaxing.
Yeah.
People are beautiful, food's beautiful.
People are great. I really love Thai people. Like they're awesome.
They're amazing.
Yeah, so it's been really cool to be here on a bit of a working holiday over the past couple of days. But I'm super keen to go through this Q&A. There's some pretty crazy questions that we'll go through.
I'm going to jump straight in. So
let's do it.
Essentially, I thought per our last podcast, it would be quite valuable to share a little bit about who you are, so people you get to understand, why they should listen to you, if you're worth listening to. That's super important.
It's always a good place to start. Like, is the person worth listening to? So yeah.
Exactly. Because I think from my point of view, you want to get your information from the right source. You want to know that they're credible, that they're trustworthy.
Totally.
So I thought it might be quite interesting to share a bit about yourself. Obviously, no questions were off limits with the questions submitted and requested in. I think from my point of view, you're such a interesting person in terms of your duality. I mean, you come across quite serious, but you also have this very beautiful, playful side. So I'm hoping today we can unpack a little bit about Nick and get to know you in a bit more detail. So
let's do it.
What do you reckon we start from the top?
Let's go.
Okay, beautiful. So I think it would be valuable to share, a bit about your heritage, because you're quite ambiguous in the sense of how you look, and I guess a bit about where you're from.
I get this question a lot from everyone, and maybe we can set the record straight here. I'm not European. I'm not South American. I'm not Middle Eastern. My parents are from South Africa. So they migrated to Australia in the late 80s. Now, obviously, if anyone sort of knows South Africa, it's quite a diverse sort of cultural melting pot. So I guess, my historical heritage comes from all different parts of the world, but my parents are from South Africa in Cape Town.
Yeah, beautiful. And where are you from?
Well, I was born and raised in Campbelltown, at least until I was about 9 years old. So Sydney Southwest was where I grew up.
Awesome. And you said you obviously moved from Campbelltown. Whereabouts did you kind of navigate?
So I was about 9 years old. We moved to country Victoria, a town called Benalla. It was a small town, about 10,000 people. So really big contrast from Campbelltown moving there. Okay.
And how did you find it when, obviously that's a big contrast. How was it living in Benalla?
Yeah, awesome. I loved it. Loved the people there, loved the pace, loved the quality of life. The school I went to there was great. Met some great people down there that still in contact with today. It's a beautiful country life. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot of stuff that you learned that you wouldn't necessarily learn as a city kid, city slicker.
Okay, so you had a bit more of a farm upbringing, did you?
I wouldn't say full-blown farm, but we had acreage. We had chickens. I think we even had some sheep at some point. Just the farm life, like riding motorbikes around. Just riding tractors around and all that sort of stuff that you just don't do in the city. So.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to share about where you lived as well, because that's such an odd thing to me.
Yeah. So no, we lived in a bus for a period of time whilst we were down there. We were building this house on this property, and so we lived in a bus for maybe about 2 to 3 years. It was an old bus that my dad and I stripped out and basically rebuilt sort of the inside to kind of be able to live in it. So it wasn't a bus with your typical seats in it. They were all gone, and it was a kind of motorhome that we turned it into, at least in our way. So that was super interesting. Time
as a kid. You would have learnt a lot of skills, I would say.
Yeah, definitely when building that thing. For sure.
And what was school like for you? Obviously being
School was a bit funny. I mean, I was a good kid up until about 9 years old, and then
might share a photo of what you look like.
Yeah, we can maybe throw up a photo of what I look like at sort of that time period. But sort of around 10, 11, 12, it's when I started to sort of get in a little bit of trouble at school and not really care too much about, my grades or whatever. And just sort of slowly started to push the boundaries a little bit more and more. Started to get into trouble a little bit more and more through my sort of early high school years. And
Yeah, and from there, where did you kind of land with moving to Sydney? How did you move over?
How did I get back? Yeah, so I think I was about 13 years old. As I said, I was getting into more and more trouble. The trouble started to get more frequent and, more crazier and crazier, and, started drinking really early on and, getting drunk at school, and did a little trip through the school, had this big lake, and one day decided to, go swimming in the lake, full school uniform, shoes, socks, everything.
This is the first story you told me when we met.
I had my bottle of Johnny Walker and vanilla Coke, and I was mixing it through the whole day, and ended up getting out of my mind drunk and swimming, and that was kind of like the big event that sort of just sent me back to Sydney.
Okay, so you were a bit naughty.
I was a bit naughty, and the idea was that I'd go back to Sydney and go to a good school back in Sydney and kind of straighten out. And that really didn't happen. So.
It didn't happen. Okay, from this point, we're really not selling to the viewers why they should be working with you. So there is no reason at
this point of the story why any one of you should take me seriously or listen to me at all. So no, I agree.
We're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But look, I think it is obviously super important, to share the truth and the reality of who you are, because that's what made you who you are today.
Definitely.
So it could be motivation for someone else out there who might not have their stuff together.
Yeah.
So I think it is valuable to understand what the turning point was for you to then get a bit of a head on your shoulders and straighten up.
Yeah, look, for me, there was no turning point at school. Like I said, I was a naughty kid at school, went back to Sydney, I ended up dropping out of school first term of year 12. And my main reason and motivation was I wanted to go and earn money, because I just didn't really have any interest in education and going to uni, and I just saw it honestly as a waste of time. I thought my time and effort would be better out there in the workforce, earning, increasing my skill set, getting experience so I could continue earning more money. And that's what I did. First team year 12 dropped out, but I dropped out and went straight to working at Macca's full time.
Okay.
And sort of between sort of like 18 and 21, I'd just gone through so many different types of jobs. I mean, I was a background extra on Home and Away. I was door knocking, selling Foxtel subscriptions, getting abused by people. I was working in call centers, getting abused by people. Working in retail jobs, bottle shops, all the rest of it, Woolies. Until one day every day I'd be applying for dozens of jobs, and every day getting rejected and knocked back. And until one day I got a response from NAB as a part-time bank teller role. This was in one of their branches in Mossman. And they had actually knocked me back for the role. But then 2 weeks later, I got a call back saying, "Hey, do you want to come for an interview?" And I honestly thought it was a mistake, but didn't say anything.
I wouldn't.
Went for the interview, got along really well with the branch manager, and that was kind of like my first in and my first moment where I was like, okay, I kind of breathe now. I've got a decent job in a decent industry. There's opportunity and tons of it to kind of move up.
Okay.
So that was kind of one of the turning points in my life when I had that job, and I was about 21 years old.
Okay, so let's maybe, there's a few questions about your career that we received. So I'm going to go through a couple of them.
Sure.
I think it's now that you're at this turning point in your life, you've got a bit of motivation. Let's get to know a little bit about, maybe you can explain your career from where you started at NAB and grew to at ING.
Yeah, I mean, NAB, like I said, 21 years old, part-time teller. Wasn't long before I became full-time. Wasn't long before I started, working into the sales side of a bank branch, selling credit cards and insurance and home loans and all the rest of it. Was there for a couple of years and then transitioned into a role at Western Union where literally every 6 months for a period of time I was getting promotions, pay rises, just because I sort of cracked the code and figured out how I could move up quite quickly. So I was at Western Union, got a leadership position there. all the while slowly sort of increasing my income at Western Union, and it was there when I sort of found financial crime.
Right.
Got a financial crime manager role in compliance at Western Union, then moved to CBA, was there for a number of years, got that sort of big bank feel working at CBA and again in their fin crime world, and then transitioned to ING in the sort of twilight years of my banking career, and had a couple of roles there, and ING was very good to me whilst I was there, and now I'm here. Business owner.
All right, so that's a bit that's happened in like from 20...
that's like, you're talking almost a 15-ish year, or just shy of 15 years.
Yeah, just in a short summary.
Working away at it.
Did you find much motivation being at the bank? Because it seems like you grew, obviously not having a degree, not having schooling, or at least finishing schooling.
Yeah.
What was your motivation, and how did you increase your salary as well as, increase your title being there?
Look, motivation-wise for me was always monetary finance, related, right? Because it was like, okay, if I do this, I can get that job, which gives me more money, which then I can go and do more things with. So that was kind of where my head was always at with it. Like, what do I need to do to get to that role, to get that paycheck, to go and
Was that your motivation, money?
On the surface level, that was, my motivation, really. Ultimately, when I look at it, I was using the money to go and invest in property, and the reason I was investing in property was so I could have eventually my own freedom. So my true why was the freedom aspect. I just needed to be free and do the things that I like doing. Money was a way that I could get there. Okay,
because we really haven't touched anything about property investing as yet. We're talking about your banking life. So whilst working at the bank, you purchased and started investing in property, obviously.
Kind of quite early on in my career, I quickly realized, I was like, well, look, this is great. I've got, the nice, safe job career that I was looking for so many years outside of school. Very quickly realized, though, that I didn't want to continue doing that till I'm 60. So I was like, well, what other ways can I, get out of this kind of 9-to-5 grind? And not to say there's anything wrong with it. It's just, for me, I had sort of my head in a different space and what I wanted to do. And I found property investing as a way where I'm like, at the time, I didn't really know how it could all work, but I knew that it could work.
Okay.
Just from, the research I'd done over the years, reading books and magazines and articles and, YouTube videos back then. I knew that property was a way, so I then started to, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, you got to get into it, like buy property, just figure it out, right? And so I did many years ago, and every time I'd get a pay rise, I'd make sure that I wouldn't, increase my life expenses, but I'd rather just go to my broker and say, hey, what can I borrow now? I've got this pay rise, and can I get another property? And I did that for years and years and years. Every pay rise, go to the broker, what can I borrow? Get more money, go buy another property. Rinse and repeat that for years, yeah.
Okay, so, obviously we always say with property investing, increasing salary is going to enable you to overcome the servicing roadblock. So that's what you did specifically.
100%, because in the beginning, at NAB, like I said, I was earning like 50 grand a year, right? And then I'd maybe earn 60, 70 grand a year for a while, and then you go to 80 and then 100. So you're slowly increasing the income over time. What I was careful of is not falling into the trap of, okay, now I'm earning more money. Now I can go and do more cool lifestyle things. And don't get me wrong, I still traveled, still had, nice cars and all that sort of thing, but I was just a bit smarter around putting money away to go and invest it.
All right, I love it. So I guess it would be probably important for me to go through a couple of the questions we received from our listeners. So I get a little bit invested, so sorry about this in the story. So basically, we've got a more technical question here. Someone's asked thoughts on Trench 2 and its impact on real estate market. I'm just going to stop right there and just maybe get you to explain what Trench 2 is as well to anyone who doesn't know.
Look, it's a financial crime, and I am no financial crime expert, even though I worked there for many years. I worked in the operational side. I found financial crime compliance seriously boring, but not knocking anyone that does that. Trench 2, basically, your real estate agents and people like that are going to have to start identifying and knowing their source of funds for their clients and stuff like that. So all the stuff the banks do now when they're asking you all these questions when you're on board, real estates and solicitors and all those people are going to start doing that too. Eventually, once tranche 2 regulation comes out. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, what it is.
Okay.
I think the question, it's actually a really good question too. Is it basically going to impact the property market, I guess, in a nutshell? I think the short answer is no. I don't think it's going to impact the property market and sort of burst a bubble in the property market space, just because I think the property market is huge, right? There are a lot of laundered funds sloshing around in the real estate market, but I don't think it's so significant where it's going to have a material impact on property prices.
Yeah.
At least, in the short term. So that's my view on that. And again, I'm in no position to be given financial crime
advice. You were the operator.
Advice or details. I made things happen rather than sort of made the rules.
So actually, maybe share, what did you do?
So my role, I was head of financial crime operations. I had a big team. I think at the height of it, we had something like 250 people, in the department, all working, financial crime ops sort of stuff. The role sounds super cool, and it kind of is. I think it sounds cooler than it actually is, because really my role was a people leader role, overseeing what the team was actually doing. Right,
operations.
The team got to do the cool stuff and see, all the bad guys and stuff like that. But me, I was just sort of steering the ship in the right direction.
Okay, so very analytical, operational. Focused on driving in the right direction.
Driving, targets, delivering projects. Obviously, the people side of stuff was the biggest, time.
How many people were you?
Like I said, about 250 people at the height of it. It fluctuated quite a lot, but at the height of my sort of career, it was about 250.
I've got a question here. I'm assuming it's from someone at the bank. Why did you leave the bank?
Leaving the bank was always part of my plan. That's why I started investing in property. I was able to. I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I could take myself out of the bank, invest, my resources into my own business, and then sort of kickstart that. So I guess the why was it was always part of the plan. Maybe it came a little bit sooner than I had actually expected, thanks to the investments and things that we'd made. But the why was because I had something more to give outside of banking.
Okay.
And not sort of knocking banking. It's a great environment, great career if you want to sort of work through that. But I had other things to do. Well,
the next question is, would you ever go back to the bank? But I feel like you're kind of answering that suddenly.
Look, never say never, right? Like, I think it's silly to sort of just say, I'd never go back. It's not my intention to go back into the banking world. I love property. I love the business that we're building here. And I can see myself doing this for a very long time still. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you've left the bank, obviously. You've started your own business. I've got an interesting question here from someone. How and when did you get your business started?
So yeah, a lot of people reached out to me on LinkedIn and Instagram and stuff about this. Like, a lot of people think that like I left the bank and then I started my business.
Yeah.
The reality is I started this business years ago, and it's taken on different forms over the years. Like way back in 2018 was when I really started making moves to get the business going. Just didn't have the resources and the capability and the knowledge back then, but over the years, slowly, increased my skill set where I needed to. So the business itself actually started years ago. Why the business started? Well, because I was a property investor. I actually fell in love with property and the buying process and the research process and everything to do with it. And I sort of thought, well, actually, there's a way that I can really fast track my way out of the bank here by using all the knowledge I've building my own portfolio. Why not start a business and help others do the same? So that was kind of where it all sort of merged together. And it was a slow process over actually like a good sort of 3-4 years to get it going, to the point where I could actually have like consistent, clients coming through and that transition.
Which I find super interesting because, I mean, especially as your partner, you were in a great position at the bank. It takes a lot of guts, to start from scratch.
It does, and like, because I had that sort of safe career. I was in a great position. A lot of people would work many years to get into that position. So it was a privileged place to be. And I knew that. But in my heart of hearts, I also knew that it wasn't for me and I had other things to do and other things to give.
Another mission.
In other areas, exactly right, other mission to do. I honestly, my career, it challenged me, it rewarded me in so many ways that I will be eternally grateful for, because if it wasn't for my banking career, I would never have been a property investor, and if I wasn't a property investor, I'd never have my business. So all of these things happen for a reason, and I'm grateful for it.
That's super cool, because I think, interesting enough, leading to this next question, someone's asked, do you have any advice for someone who wants to start their own business?
Yeah, there's lots of advice and stuff that I've learned over the years. Like, you hear it all the time, right? But you got to love it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to love whatever it is for you, because if you don't, you're not going to get it going. It's not going to happen for you, because the business is not a 9 to 5 thing. It's a 24/7. There's no days off anymore. We're on holiday, but it's really working most of the time. So if I didn't love property, it would be really hard, and you'd probably give up before it gets going. So you got to love it. You got to have resources to be able to invest into the business to get it going, and obviously to support yourself while you're doing that transition as well. And you just got to bite down on the mouthpiece and get going, because there's so many challenges that can knock you back and knock you out. That if you're not prepared and ready to kind of deal with that, you're not getting to the next level, you're not growing your business. So
okay, I mean, that's super cool. I think what would be valuable to other people who might want to know how to start their own business as well is how you actually did it. So you obviously had a great career, you started your property investing journey, you started building your portfolio. How did you actually move from having this great income into putting funds into the business and taking that off?
I think the short answer is the beauty and the power behind building wealth in property, right? Because initially you buy a property, you might have one, it grows, maybe 50 to 100 grand in a year, a couple of years, whatever, right? But when you start to compound that over, multiple properties, that compounding effect of wealth building, really, I was on some great income at the bank, but the wealth that you build from property completely eclipses that very, very quickly.
So funny.
So thanks to my property portfolio, I was able to sort of leverage out into having, resources to invest into my business, having, enough money to kind of cover myself for however long I needed to.
Yeah.
And all the rest of it, right? So it's basically the property portfolio that allowed the business to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's valuable to share that, because at the end of the day, everybody says, property creates financial freedom, this, that, but this really is a great snapshot of someone using their portfolio to create their own freedom. So I think having other people understand that it is possible could be very valuable. It's possible,
and it's real. And when I first started investing in property, I couldn't quite connect the dots as to, okay, how do all these people get financially free out of property? It must take 20, 30 years. You've got to pay the property down and all these sorts of things. And that was kind of like an amateur way of looking at it, where for me now, it's just income producing assets as quick a time as you can. Get them in the portfolio, get it growing, because it's about time in the market that builds the wealth, that gives you the choices to go and do what you want to do.
Yeah, you encapsulate reasons why, how you could do it efficiently and effectively to put yourself in a position. Like we said, odds were against you. Dropped out, didn't get a uni degree, you went straight into working. Obviously, your experience has enabled you to grow so quickly. Also, your personality type, being observant and analytical. But I think the main thing is you have worked really hard to get to the position that you're in.
It's also a council worker too. I just remembered council worker at Blacktown Council for a period of time. But if I can get here, there's no reason why anyone else can't.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've got another question here. What are 3 tips for an amateur property investor?
3 tips for an amateur property investor. Number 1, before you buy and do anything, have a plan and have a strategy.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, having a plan and a strategy is going to allow you to buy the right properties for you and your circumstance. So have that first. Have the plan and the strategy to buy the properties and what you want the properties to do for you. But then number 2, have the exit strategy out of it, right? Like, how do you cash out and get the benefit of property investing? Is it, you're going to have to buy and hold and wait? Are you going to buy high growth properties and pull the equity out? What are you going to do with it? What's the exit strategy? Number 3, avoid all these off the plan, high rise apartments, new builds. They look great. The brochures look amazing. But every single investor I've spoke to because I've done it myself as well, it's a dead end road and it just holds you back for so many years. So what's worked well for me, existing properties in established areas that have a proven track record for growth.
That's some great tips.
That's my sort of, 3 hot tips for property investors.
I love it. Yeah. No, that's really valuable. It's simple, to the point. So I think to run this out, I have one last question from someone. A couple of people actually have asked this question. Yeah. Super interesting, because in culture with this particular question, finance is something that we don't really discuss openly.
Yeah.
And to me, I actually thought it would be really insightful to share a little bit about, your position at the bank, what you were earning.
Yeah.
The question is directly related to how much income you were earning when you left the bank.
Yeah.
And I think, with sharing that, it gives insight to people about what you left behind. So I think it would be super interesting to enable people to understand what it takes to grow a portfolio and how you can fast track it.
Yeah, so I think, look, you framed it quite well in that it's a bit of a taboo sort of topic amongst people. And even since I was a kid, I knew that people didn't like talking about it. And for me, I never really truly understood why. I'm a pretty open, upfront, honest kind of person. Transparent. I'll just tell you how it is. So I don't mind sharing, what my salary was like, and it's not for any other reason. I'm not looking to boast or make myself sound cool or anything like that. It's just to put things into perspective of, where I started and where, how it's going, sort of thing. So in the beginning, my career, NAB was about 50 grand a year.
Yeah. Base income.
At that time, obviously over the years worked my way up through different roles, different companies, got pay rises and that sort of thing, to the end of my career, including my bonus, was about 330 grand that I was earning.
Wow.
That's obviously just the banking stuff, right? There's also the property portfolio as well, which we'll leave out, but to put into perspective how you can grow and build a portfolio to the size, that I've built it. I think it's upwards of close to 6 mil at the moment. You got to have a big income like that to really drive the portfolio and to get those properties behind you. But like we were just saying, that's a lot of cash to leave behind on the table. But when I look at business, and some of the clients that we've spoke to, there are other business owners or medical professionals. There's some big incomes out there that eclipse that 330 grand at ING. And when I look at it from a business owner and property investing, there's so much more scale to wealth out there than just your 9 to 5 PAYG sort of income. So a lot to leave behind, but there's a lot on the table too with the business. It's untapped earnings. And also with a property portfolio behind you as well, paying me income very similar to that. It was kind of like, it's a big income to leave behind, but I've got, a big safety net as well. Yeah,
and I think at the end of the day, what I saw, at least from my point of view with you, your happiness as well.
Yeah.
And I think as you get older, this is valuable for younger people.
Yeah.
It's important to grow your career, right? It's important to get experience and know how to, command your skills, your communication, the way you work through your career. It's super important, but at the end of the day, everybody has a purpose. And I think that's what you, at least from my point of view, I saw you trying to battle with. The longer the golden handcuffs stayed on, I feel like.
Definitely towards the end, it was like the money just wasn't worth the, the feelings that I had of knowing that this environment's not for me. There's other things out there that I should be and want to be doing. So it was quite easy to just be like, thanks, but no thanks towards the end. But for many years, it was kind of like, I don't know if I can
take the risk.
I'm not quite ready yet. This money's good, this. But there just comes a time when it's like, all right, cool, it's time to do what we need to do and transition into the business. And it's been a great transition. I'm super proud of what we've been able to build so far. We've worked with some amazing clients, and I'm super grateful for that. But obviously, it's not been an easy road. It's been years in the making. But yeah, super proud to share what we've got here.
Yeah, no, so I really appreciate you being so candid and straightforward with it. I know it's not easy to do that.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't mind. The questions are great, so thanks to everyone out there for throwing these questions our way. We might leave it there and wrap it up, but thank you so much for going through all of the questions, and thanks to you guys for sending them through. Hopefully you got some value out of that. Now you know what I earned whilst I worked at the bank. So thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Until next time, we'll catch you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.